But we're going to do what we can to address the issue of what can we do. This session is about industry action. What is the sector doing in different countries, in different ways? So what can we learn from each other in relation to sustainability? So I'm very pleased to welcome the panel. We have here Stefanie Miltenburg, Head of Public Affairs for Royal FloraHolland in the Netherlands. We have Jeroen go on, say it, you say it.
Your last name is more difficult than mine.
Yeah. Oudheusden. Close, Oudheusden. Executive Officer of the Floriculture Sustainability Initiative. We have Juan Isaza, Senior Technical Expert in GLOBAL.Ga.P. We have Mr. Augusto Solano, President of Asocolflores in Colombia. And we have Marco van der Sar, Chair of the Supervisory Board of the Plants and Flowers Foundation Holland in the Netherlands. So thank you to the panel for joining us. If we can, we will come to you as well for any comments and questions, but we'll see how we go. First of all, I'd like to ask each of you your thoughts on this. In some parts of the world, there's a backlash against the cost to business of getting greener. Now, growers have the desire to do the right thing, that's clear. But who is driving the demands for sustainability? Is the industry right to just try to meet every demand, or is there a risk in doing so that we actually become therefore unsustainable as operating businesses? So the pressures are coming from governments, EU, retailers, NGOs, consumers. Who is paying for sustainability, and how do we work out where to draw that line? So maybe we start with Stefanie for your thoughts on that.
Well, that's many questions in one, Tim, actually. And maybe it's good if I just briefly introduce Royal FloraHolland, because it's important to know a little bit what it enhances. Royal FloraHolland is a cooperative of about 3,200 growers. And we operate the biggest international platform for the trade in flowers and plants worldwide. We have a sort of central role in the chain of green happiness, because what we do is we connect buyers and growers from all over the world on our digital platform, Floriday, and together with our operational hubs in the Netherlands, we are able to facilitate all these commercial transactions worldwide. And we never become owner of the product, but we deliver services for buyers and growers to conduct their business in the most successful and efficient way. What we see, of course, is that the market demand is changing. Well, that's not new. We've heard it all day. And there's more demand for sustainably produced products. And for us, as an international marketplace, for our success and our reputation, it's important that we are able to transparently share and credibly also share information on the products we are offering, and so that buyers can be informed about the social and environmental conditions of the production. So for us, I mean, cost is important, but for us, it's really a matter of reputation. It's already been mentioned, especially in the Netherlands, but I think also in other countries of Europe, our sector is under scrutiny. If we don't manage to get our things in order, to be able to demonstrate, to put results and data to words, it will be very difficult for our sector to remain active and remain our license to operate. Who is paying for it? Of course, it's always a double-sided sword, because we are always acknowledging that producers have to invest. It doesn't come. It normally comes with a cost. Changing your business practices is also putting more effort in administration, but also sometimes investment needs to be made. If you look at health and safety regulations for your workers, I mean, investments need to be made, but it always, as we think, pays off, because growers also see the benefits of having a better access to the market, that they remain relevant in the market, and that they even get access to an increasing market share. So costs, but also a lot of benefits.
Okay, thanks, Stefanie. Jeroen, you want to comment?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. So my name is Jeroen, Oudheusden, if you really like the proper pronunciation. But Jeroen is fine. I listened to that very well over the years. So since 2013, I've been leading the FSI, the Floriculture Sustainability Initiative. And as you've seen, almost all previous presentations have mentioned, and presenters have mentioned FSI in some form or shape, which is, I think, also good. We started, it's good to remember, we started in 2013 with a business plan on paper and 15 organizations that were behind it. And they said, for us, the purpose of creating this initiative is to basically create our own agenda on sustainability, rather than having to respond to all kinds of NGOs, all kinds of retailers coming up with new requirements, with legislation on water being more strict, NGOs doing nasty campaigns. They never do that somewhere in a dull moment in October. They always do it in the week before Mother's Day and in the week before Valentine's Day. And of course, consumers that are sometimes worried. And the idea was at the time to create an initiative that has developed over time now in global initiative with around 100 members, covering the whole supply chain, production, trade, retail, NGOs, and also supporting organizations to work together on that collective ambition. And I think if you talk about the cost of sustainability, think about the cost of not being sustainable. I would challenge that, and if you are not yet convinced of the urgency that we have to act as a sector, that we have to act on to become more sustainable, then I don't think you have understand the urgency that is really almost, sometimes putting our sector down in a way that is not transparent, and it's also not helping. But we have done some research in the past, and what it showed is that as an agricultural sector, you are by definition not so good in giving all the, maybe brag, it feels like bragging about these good stories. We have seen innovations, we've seen all kinds of good stuff. We sometimes just forget to tell it. And if we don't back it up by data, then we are always vulnerable for this new campaign, for this extra retail requirement that is landing on our sector again. And we are, oh, what should we do now? So our aim is to work more data-driven, use harmonized standards, and make sure that we have a better story to counteract the NGOs and the pressure, and to show what we are doing is the right thing. So that is also my pledge to the sector, that we should be doubling up our effort to achieve that, to prove that flowers and plants are always a good buy.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeroen. Juan Carlos.
Hello. Sorry. So Juan Carlos at GLOBAL.Ga.P. So we produce standards that are multi-stakeholder defined, and GAP means good agricultural practices. So one of the things about cost, we hear producers always complain they have to pay the cost. It's not taken up by the supply chain most of the time. I think that's partly true. You can hear it many times. There's something about the good agricultural practices that is should be happening, and it's that most of them or some of them are giving back the investment that is done because of good organized processes, less waste, saving of product. That's good until, let's say that's possible until a certain level, but it's not always the case. There are some costs that are never perhaps recovered or take time to recover. Internally within GLOBAL.Ga.P, we have been discussing for the last 2 years a product with around 85 stakeholders about how to prioritize on hotspots, allow growers to work on what is a priority for them. Not on every single aspect, but only what is a priority, a hotspot where their main impact is. And also introducing there the discussion of how can, upriver, the buyers, or downriver, the buyers of the product can engage to support part of the costs of the implementation. This is, of course, a difficult conversation, but it's something that is being explored. And on the other hand, certification, people complain about certification being costly, what you have to implement, etc. So what you have to implement, okay, we expect return of investment, but the cost of certification itself, it's up to our schemes, and we have heard it from stakeholders. We need to simplify the process. We need to use more technology. We need to use less time of auditing to make it more cost efficient. So maybe those elements.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts. Augusto.
Hello, thank you. Well, Colombian floriculture started 60 years ago in 1965, since they want to supply the international market, mainly the United States. It has evolved till today. We're supplying 100 countries, and it's a 2.5 billion industry. 30 years ago, the growers found that there were some issues on the environmental side, on the social side, so they decided to hire study with the university, and it came out with a best practices program that has evolved along these 30 years to become a leading certification Flor Verde. As a matter of fact, I'm very happy to be here with all these distinguished colleagues, especially Juan Carlos, who was part of that effort, part of the Asocolflores team that gave birth to Flor Verde 30 years ago. And we found, and my members have found, that being sustainable is a good business. Flor Verde has become a managerial tool for many of them. The US market wasn't the most demanding market in these terms, but they found that being sustainable was a good business. And doing good things the right way, sustainable way, was also a good business. Trying to invest to protect water, to make a rational use of water, can require an investment, but it's even more expensive to run out of water. So in that way, is the same thing. And nowadays, Flor Verde has an independent governance, and certified farms, they receive a monthly report with all the inputs they have put in the system, and they can have a benchmark, and they know who's doing better, how they're doing, and how they can improve. So we think that maybe there are investments, but in the long run, it pays off. And we have to comply with the market, and being sustainable is something that is become a culture, not a program.
Thank you. Marco.
And the question was? The cost?
The expense.
No, maybe...
yes, it's about the perception of, is it a cost to the... how do we see going green as who is covering the cost? Is it and what is the feeling? What should they do to keep the businesses sustainable for the future?
Okay, then I also do a short introduction, because maybe most of the people don't know the Plants and Flower Foundation Holland. We rebranded the foundation 4 months ago. We used to be known as Bloemenbureau Holland or Flower Council Holland. And Yvonne was supposed to be here, but she's not, so I'm replacing her. And one of the main activities of Flower Council Holland or Plants and Flower Foundation Holland is storytelling. So sharing positive stories about the benefits of flowers and plants. But also more and more talking about not only the product but also production. And we do a lot of fundamental research on consumer trends and habits and everything that has to do with sustainability. And it's funded by the Dutch system, traders, growers, and also international members of FloraHolland. So that's the new name for Bloemenbureau Holland. And regarding the question, the answer in short is hopefully the consumer. And the question is the price then fair? And if we cannot put the fair price on consumer level, who's paying the margin in between? And yes, sustainability comes at a cost, but I agree also with the previous comment that we need to have a fair pricing, and not being sustainable is even more expensive long term.
Good, thank you. Well, we seem to have a fairly agreed theme going through the panel on this. I wonder, Stefanie, whether you can just outline some of the challenges your growers are facing and the strategy that Royal FloraHolland has decided to take in relation to certification, compliance with FSI, and maybe you can highlight some of the benefits or challenges that growers have experienced as a result of that.
Yes, well, if you say what are the challenges that growers are facing, I think it's clear is that they see the market demand changing. So they have to adopt to that, and they know that, and they want to do that. But blue eyes is not enough, or showing a customer around at your production place or telling nice stories is not sufficient. Because we know that real credibility comes with a changed behavior, and by substantiating that behavior with data and facts. And for us as Royal FloraHolland, as I said before, our reputation and the success of our international marketplace depends also on how transparent we are on the sustainability of the products we are trading. So the only answer for us in the past has been certification, because that is it's a controlled way of checking, of registering, and also of showing to the market that you keep your promises. So what's required in the certificate is being done in production. And the decision we took some time ago is that we ask all our suppliers to the international marketplace to work in line and to have the certificates as has been set by FSI. We are, as from the start, a member of FSI because we believe in the goals, like Jeroen just explained. And we ask all our suppliers to to get the certificates that are required under the FSI regime, for social, environmental, and GAP. That is quite a challenge, but the good news, and I think the exciting thing, is that we did it also together with our major buyers. Because the major buyers, and that's always something that growers ask, I can try to invest and make my product more sustainable, but is it also being rewarded by the buyer? Are they really buying certified products? So our major buyers have committed to fully certified sourcing in the coming few years. And we allow them to do that by, in all our sales channels, sharing the information about the certificates that a producer holds. And it gives, of course, insight for the buyers into their supply chains, and they can then look for certified production. And actually, we see that 75% of the turnover of our marketplace already is certified. We had an issue with small-scale growers. As has already been indicated, there's a high cost involved with certification. But I think we also had a unique cooperation with GLOBAL.Ga.P, with MPS, to work on a more tailor-made system with lower costs, more practical solutions, and we are offering that to small-scale growers to make sure that they can jump on the wagon and join this movement. You were talking about some of the benefits. I think you already discussed about market access, benefits of having your affairs more in order. But of course, there are also big challenges. I think they have also been addressed. But one challenge I really want to mention, and that's also being addressed by Jacques in his opening speech, is about unpredictable government policy. And that's something, especially in my role as heading public affairs, is a challenge. Because growers want to do their business. They want to have an overview of what's going to happen. They want to have a future. They want to have a vision. If they can't invest, and I can tell you for the past 5 years in the Netherlands, we have had a longer period with a demissionary cabinet of government than we had one period with a stable, normal functioning cabinet. So all the investments that growers are doing, and be it in electrification, where there is a huge issue with the congestion of the electrical grid, be it with geothermy, where you try to dig for warmth in the soil, where investments are being made, and then suddenly it's decided that subsidies stop. That is really driving a grower, a business person, crazy. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges I wanted to address, in addition to everything we have named already in relation to the market and to certification.
Thank you. Juan Carlos, there are different expectations coming upon standards and like GLOBAL.Ga.P. Different stakeholders will want different things to be required, and it's easy just to keep adding things, yes? But how is GLOBAL.Ga.P changing to address these sort of differing demands? We've talked about small schemes, maybe some have extra requirements. How are you adapting as GLOBAL.Ga.P to those changing demands?
We were exactly in the situation you were saying. Like GLOBAL.Ga.P found itself with a big portfolio of products, one standard for water, one standard for biodiversity, standard for data collecting and controlling and sharing, and good agricultural practices, and a social standard, etc., etc. And there was like a pushback also from producers who were selling to different buyers and saying we need something, a single solution that can help us. And that's what I was mentioning before. The current name, or working name, is Environmental Sustainability Solution. It's only for environment right now. And it's basically has like 3 characteristics. We are working together with 85 stakeholders accompanying us in this process. And it covers all topics. So a buyer should be assured that it has been analyzed, that it's water, let's say, the hot spot, and the other topics have been already checked or discarded because they are not the main topic, not the main impact. So there is a prioritization. There is data and practices in both of them, and that's where we are heading, trying to come up with one solution that is simplified, shorter, and addresses all what buyers have. But it's very difficult to handle. Still, buyers use as unique selling proposition their own, for example, chemical list, or their own focus on pollinators, one, the other on water, the other on, and it keeps us moving anyway. It's a dynamic.
So you're trying to build in some flexibility as well in that, depending on the different demands that there are.
Exactly, to let the grower work on what is really changing, moving the needle, what is really its main impact, because,
yes. Yeah. Okay, I think Marco looks like he wants to say something on that.
No, so we did a large research last year about how does the consumer see sustainability, and also what's the perception of our industry going forward, and how do they actually see the reputation of flowers and plants in general. And if you look at the research, this was done mainly in the Netherlands, but I think it can be plotted in Europe. But let's say 50% of the overall consumer are very positive about flowers and plants in general. So they see it as a nice gift for themselves and for somebody else. So 50% is happy with us. And they love our product, and they really sometimes think about the production, but it's more about the product. Then we have 42% who is neutral, and I think that's the dangerous part, because the other 8% is negative, and that's also the NGOs and the people that are negative on other topics, but we also give them a reason to be negative. And if you talk about reputation, 80% is behavior, so only 20% can be compensated with communication and the good storytelling. So in line with your question, let's say that behavior, if you can measure behavior, and also, like, what we all need is, can we have data which is validated, but which is also internationally comparable and consistent, because then you can also, as an industry, set the levels and change behavior, because at the end, that's maybe the most important one, to make sure that 42% of consumers buy one bunch or one plant more, and that's a big opportunity for us as an industry. And in line with that, yes, certification is important. Also then having the head as a chairman of MPS here, footprint data and the FloraHolland, in which you have an international standard on how you measure more and more data points on sustainability, really will help us in the coming years to see, okay, how do we perform, but also where can we improve. And the good news is that a lot of growers are already starting now with footprint calculations with MPS, but also with the other systems. And we need to start measuring things and see where we can improve, because at the end, that will change behavior, and that will most likely also give a huge opportunity towards those consumers that we need to give a fair product.
Thank you, and I think this, raises something for all of us in the room, is about how we can begin or continue to improve the data and information that we are collecting about sustainability in the sector, to be able to demonstrate change and improvement. And then the sensitive aspect is how that is used, of course, and that's where the skills of organizations like yours can come in interpreting that and communicating that to present the positive message of how this sector is developing. FSI is looking forwards. So if it is the job of certification to say where you are now, it's the job of FSI to look into the future and where it is going. And FSI recently has a new strategy for the sector to 2030. You've given us a bit of an introduction, Jeroen, to FSI, but maybe you can elaborate a bit on the strategy you have of what will be the challenges of growers, but what are you expecting from them between now and 2030 to meet that strategic plan that you have?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, so with FSI, you see that since 2013 we have been evolving as well. And in the past, and it was mentioned also during one of the previous presentations, that sustainability in the beginning was a kind of a nice to have. It was somewhere at sustainability or marketing or a quality department. Whereas now, when I have talks with our members, it's the CFO and the CEO together with the sustainability professional, who could be either both as well, on the table. So this is clearly has shifted from a nice to have to a license to operate. Going to 2030, we are now embarking also a little bit in a new phase. In the previous years, it was about certification. Yes, it was about being certified. It was about compliance. Whereas now, due to different shifts in regulation, like the CSRD that Sylvie talked to us about, and different consumer perceptions, we need to become more data-driven, and also we need to base our decisions going forward more on that data to make sure that we are working on those elements that are really significant. And therefore, also in our strategy going forward, we need to work what we call more risk-based, or you could also say, in a positive side, could be opportunity-based, but do it with harmonized tools like the FloraHolland, which is the footprint methodology that Sylvie showed on her slide as well. That is the recipe book, the blueprint on how to produce a footprint. Have we not have started with record keeping already many years ago, then calculating a footprint would be extra work and it would be very difficult. But we now can bank on already the experience of 25 years also with Flor Verde, with MPS, with the Kenya Flower Council. Their record keeping system have data for the last 25 years. With that data alone, you have already maybe 60% of all your data that you need to calculate a footprint. So going forward, this footprint will become really important because it will, in a scientific way, with validated data, again, why it's so important that we have certifications, and trust me, in our sector we are blessed with good voluntary standards that in other sectors like spices, vanilla, fruit and veg, I work with them through another organization, they look at us. We are the front runner as a sector where we have these standards in place so that we can this next step, which is really important. So I think there, in the coming years, we will see that we will start not to ask more of the growers, but that we start to use what they already have collected. And I know I've been at some growers, I've sit there around the table, data collecting, it's not fun. But it becomes useful when the result that you get presented back from the certification is giving you more insight in not only your own production, but also in where your peers are. So you can compare yourself and do better. Adding there the FloraHolland, the footprint, gives you also a scientific-based approach to where you should be working. Is it peat? Is it plastic? Is it fossil fuel? Is it your transport? And what does it do? And it also depends on where you are. Are you in a water-scarce area or not? So for growers globally, the impact of the assessments will be different. But it's good that they are comparable, because sometimes we need not to shy away in the future. I think Frank said that, to also accept that we will stop asking for products that are produced against nature too much. If a product, a plant or a flower, requires too much water, too much pesticides, maybe you're trying to create something in the wrong place. So that discussion should also take place. But if you have your data, then you can measure and you can also adapt, because sustainability also in a way is adapting to the new situation. Our strategy around that is so more data-driven, aligned methodologies, and then let's also not forget, we are now talking about sustainability most of the time as an environmental criteria. That's because environmental topics are nice. You can put them in an Excel. They don't hurt your feelings. You can look at them, analyze them, and work on it. But how about the social aspects? We have so many good social impacts that we forget to tell about. Having the fact that we create an industry in Colombia, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, brings proper jobs to people, creates an economy there, so that people can build and resilience. Hannah is here. Where are you, Hannah? Please, if you're talk to Hannah when you have the time. She is studying the social indicators for the floriculture industry, and that is where we have to bridge them, because the story that Marco and the others can tell, and also Frank to the consumer, should be based on both, and we have to balance environmental and social criteria. So our strategy is also encompassing those elements both.
Thank you, and move to Augusto. We've brought up the topic of footprinting. I'd be interested to know how this is being addressed in Colombia, but also Jeroen mentioned it's a license to trade, and I would ask you, is that the case for Colombian growers? You're supplying into the North American market. How do you manage these different markets with different requirements? Do you see North America moving in the same direction, or how do you manage that difference?
Well, the U.S. is our main market. 80% of our exports go there. And the United States has been lagging in regulation to Europe for many years, but is moving ahead. Is moving forward. And nowadays, growers and exporters have to comply not only with the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, environmental regulations, but also with the meeting the retailer-driven sustainable standards. Like just recently, some time ago, Flor Verde met the requirements for Walmart in connection with the pollinator health policy. Kroger is also requiring certain issues in biodiversity and use of pesticides. So this is moving forward, maybe slower than the Europe. But in other markets, like for example, Japan and Korea, they're important markets for us. This is not part of the conversation there. And also to mention something, last week, we had Union Fleur's annual meeting in London, and there was a presentation with Jennifer was telling us about a survey where they found that 64% of the consumers were willing to pay more for sustainable flowers. However, then we paid a visit to New Covent Garden, and talking to some of the members of the market there, they're not aware of sustainability there. For some of them, sustainability is getting rid of plastic, and that's it. So it's very confusing. I think supermarkets, especially in the US and in UK, are the ones that leads this, because they want to cover themselves with any problem with the consumer or something like that, like sneakers made by children in Bangladesh, or they don't want to have something like that here, but you know, it's mainly that. But yeah, sometimes it's confusing. I think there is a lot of work to do, and maybe for Jeroen and Juan Carlos, your next stop will be New Covent Garden, give them some education about this. But that's what I said, that you do this by conviction, not because only people are requiring that. But in the case of US, it's moving forward, and we supply around 85% of all the bouquets to supermarkets. So they are driving us toward this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And maybe it's a moment to see if anyone on the floor would like to make any comment or has any question to the panel. If you haven't, I've got plenty still. But if you have anything you want to ask the panel at this stage, no? Okay, I come back to you. I'll go to Stefanie then, because I think it would be interesting to know whether you have some examples of how best practices in sustainability, how your growers have collaborated together to implement best practice and real sustainable solutions.
Yeah, it was said earlier, I think, or shown, I don't know whether it was with Frank's presentation or Bruno, but it said commitment drives peers. And I think also in our cooperative, although growers are of a different size, have different product groups, it is most important that inspiration and collaboration is done between themselves, because we can tell them what sustainable best practices are or anyone else in the market, but it's best if growers convince themselves. And within Royal FloraHolland we have the so-called Floriculture product commissions, where growers of specific product groups come together quite often and they discuss the issues or the themes, topics that are specific or relevant to their product groups. And these commissions, they play a vital role in energizing each other, sharing best practices. And one example is on packaging. Packaging is quite a challenge, because we know also what Sylvie illustrated, that we need to reduce, reuse, recycle. But where do you start? So with product groups together, we provided this information, we gave a sort of action plan and a stepwise action plan which helped them to really get started and to do some pilots, and of course afterwards share the results and also work together in buying new kind of packaging material, because that's also a challenge, but also dealing with new technical specifications, because not every new plastic packaging or wrapping looks the same in terms of quality than a more sustainable one. So I think the product commissions are a very good example. But also we organize knowledge sessions, webinars, and that's if it's a topic that where we don't have the expertise, we work together with colleagues with expertise. For example, the Dutch Council of Greenhouse Producers, they have a lot of expertise on water management, on energy, all those kind of production themes, and we link up with them and we provide this knowledge also to our members to help them get inspired and also get help with those topics that are needed to improve their production in a sustainable manner.
Thank you, thank you. And Augusto, your scheme started maybe linked with social issues as well back in the beginning, and Jeroen was mentioning that this is a good news story we have for the industry about how our industry supports many lives, families, bringing people out of poverty in many situations. It would be interesting to hear how you have, how you communicate this issue. Clearly, it's an important aspect of your certification, your sustainable development in Colombia. How do you then communicate that outwards as part of a promotion of your product and a demonstration of the sustainability of your industry?
Right. It's at the heart of our sustainable approach and Flor Verde certification. We're generating close to 250,000 jobs, direct and indirect jobs. There are formal, and the people are a very important part of the business. In our case, we generate on average 16 jobs per hectare. Maybe here or Europe is 1 or something like that. So it's 16, and that represents a little over 50% of the costs. So taking care of the people is key, And since the beginning, Flor Verde started with the environmental side and the social side. Other certifications started with the social side, like FLP, or the environmental side. Now everybody is on both sides. So that's key to us. And our approach is that we go beyond the fence, beyond the limits of the farm, because we do have an impact on the communities. And also we found that having people well paid, happy, and everything increases productivity. So we are really committed to the people, to the social side, to the communities, and we even have a program called Cultivating Peace in the Family, which is conflict resolution process for the family and the communities that in our case has proven to be very important. We're taking care of 60% of our workers are women, so we started recently a program for detection of breast cancer that going to the farms to check that no matter the age, because the government only does this outside the farms and only after 45 years or so. So there are many things we're doing there, and we think is the core of our program, our concerns.
Thank you very much. Well, we've run out of time. In our preparation call, we had a big discussion about the future of pesticides and everything, which we've not even been able to get onto here. But that's a good one to carry on over lunch, if you would like. But we have to stop now for lunch. Oh, we have one more comment, Mr.
No, maybe just wanted to say something that the one thing that I think the industry is lacking, and we haven't done enough, is on communicating what we're doing. Because there are some isolated issues that, you know, cover the whole screen and everything, and still we do much more than that. So we have to work together in that communicating that this industry is really committed, is advancing, and we shouldn't have those attacks anymore.
And I think we've found that we got some real positive stories here, like on the packaging, like on the social situation. Even we've talked about chemicals, we've talked about this progress to try and build up data resources as we get more footprinting. So building up our evidence base, but collaborating together between our organizations, between us as members of AIPH. This is something we need to get stronger at, to defend our industry, but to be proactive about a sector that is really supporting the world as it becomes more sustainable. And our whole Green City program is aimed at demonstrating the value of plants and green that we bring to cities that will improve lives, make cities livable, provide solutions to the future. So it's time to get back on the front foot, yes, and to be able to talk in an upbeat, positive way about the positive aspects that our sector is bringing. And all that we have talked about is part of the support of how we get there and how we're able to deliver it. Thank you very much to our panel members. Really appreciate that, and please give them a round of applause. Thank you.